Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
How you been?
Uh, so I've told you about the
I've told you.
I've told you. Um, what happened was no, I told you about the saga with my wife's house in Baltimore, right?
God, that's been a long time. I do remember. I don't know the details anymore. It's been too long.
So long story short, she's got a couple properties that she's had long before like we ever got together. One in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and one in Baltimore. She lived in both of them at some point in her life, and now has kept them because properties most of the time don't lose value. I mean, they can lose value, but
How did she end up with these?
she bought the one in Baltimore when she was going to medical school. So she bought it and lived in it for many years while she was going to medical school. She bought the one in Pittsburgh, I think, when she was doing a residency because she did a residency in Pittsburgh. So she bought them for a purpose, lived in both of them for many years at a time, but just never sold them and rented them out, afterwards. And the one in Pittsburgh is doing just fine. It's under a management company. It doesn't always have tenants, which is kind of annoying because the market's not that good. But for the last 2 years, it's had constant tenants, so they at least pay the mortgage. So that's what else can you ask for in a real estate market?
Right.
She's got a management company for the one in Baltimore as well, and Baltimore's economy is a little bit different, and clientele is a little bit different. Like the house is not in a good neighborhood by any means. It's in Baltimore. And so it goes on and off of having, tenants, not even necessarily with year leases. Like the management company doesn't even make people necessarily sign a year lease because you might not get people to stay there for, a full year. So there'll be people in and out of that place. But last official tenant she probably had was 2 years ago now. And in the meantime, when that tenant moved out, she was going to get some work done on it and convert the basement. It was a basement space into a bathroom and a bedroom. There was plumbing and stuff down there, but it was just an unfinished basement. So it was going to, let's refinish the basement or finish the basement and make it like a rental with more bedrooms and bathrooms. Mm-hmm. And the guy who runs the management company said, is also a general contractor and said that he could, take care of doing, some of that work. So he started doing some of that work downstairs in the basement. And then he would kind of just not do work for a while. And then he would be doing work again and then not do work for a while. Then it became this big thing. Well, at some point, there's creepers down here. At some point, it was found out that he was living in the place.
Oh.
He just moved in, was going to do the work, was doing the work while he was living there.
Okay.
For
that's bullshit.
About 6 months he was, because at first she was like, oh, okay, you needed a place to stay, you're working on the place, just, okay, that's fine, you can just stay there while you're doing stuff in the doing the work in the basement. And I don't know what kind of general contractor this dude is, because he didn't have a drill. So
what?
He had borrowed my drill. I've never met this guy, but she just said he needed a drill. Specifically, he needed a hammer drill. So it's one that can go through concrete and things like that. And I happen to have a hammer drill. It's not a special hammer drill. It's just a very off the shelf $30 from Lowe's hammer drill. Not expensive.
Yeah.
But so she took it up to him with my charger and my batteries for this drill and such, so he could work on this drill, basement. No. Got it back, but it was 6 months later, after he did no work.
Oh, good.
So since then, and that was after me bitching for a while about I need my shit back because the charger and the batteries are for all of the power tools. I have the same brand of Lowe's brand cheap power tools. I didn't have a battery charger anymore because he had the battery charger and all that stuff.
Right.
So she goes and gets it back. And I guess he moved his daughter into the house, and his daughter's mentally, I don't know if she's mentally or physically disabled. One of the two. She's some type of disabled. I'm not sure. So my wife felt bad, for the fact that, she was there and whatever, just letting him stay there while he's doing this work that he's not doing. Well, it eventually got to the point where it was, you need to leave. This is fucking ridiculous. Like, done. He refused.
Yeah.
He refused to leave. So
right. Well, he does have that right.
Well, that turns out to be the problem. So she ended up taking him to court, getting a court date. Took a long time for saying like this person is not supposed to be, not supposed to be staying at this house. He doesn't have a right to be staying at this house. And she went to the court date, and the judge basically agreed that he doesn't have a right to be in the house. However, you've let him there long enough that we can't evict him on this notion. You have to refile paperwork because evict somebody for some other way of doing it. You can't just say this person is not supposed to be staying here because they've been staying there too long to fit under that guise anymore. So she had to go refile paperwork, and it took a month to get another court date, and she went back for the next court date, and the next court date the judge was like, okay, now we can evict this person under this whatever fucking rule it is. You ever dealt with an eviction before?
Oh yeah.
What kind
Recently.
of eviction was yours? Was it a failure to pay rent? Was it
it was just. I mean, I talked to you about this guy whenever we had to evict him. Actually,
you did.
I didn't.
Didn't they end up leaving on their own, or did you actually go through the full eviction process?
No, we had to go through the whole eviction process. He wouldn't leave. He just wouldn't leave.
So maybe you can give me advice then.
I mean, with him, it just came down to the judge saying, "All right, you got to go." Like the judge was like, because the guy came into the court with this sob story about he's got back trouble, he hasn't been able to get work.
Sure.
And we're not evicting him for non-payment. We're evicting him because he's literally insane. Like we went over there, or my aunt did.
Eviction for insanity.
I mean,
form a 15-A.
Right. Like, I mean, we went over there to talk to him about like some trash and shit he had in the backyard, and he just went off and went fucking like, I'll fucking kill you. You come back over here in my yard and we'll see what happens, and you want to get your ass kicked and all this, and like he'd drive by and like flip us off and all this, and he just was not stable. And so we're like, we just wanted you to clean up your shit, but now we want you to get the fuck out forever. And the thing is, like, we inherited this property after my aunt died. And, I had been trying to keep up with it forever because my uncle was always worried he wasn't going to pay his rent. And I'd ask her,
Monk,
did he
like
pay his
the
rent
dude from the
month?
TV show?
Huh? I said my uncle.
Oh, I thought you said monk. I was like,
my
monk.
Uncle. No, my uncle was always worried about after he died. Whether
Shorthand for my uncle is now always going to be monk. So a monk was there. And
yes. But anyways, he hadn't paid his rent in years whenever we inherited, but decided to let him stay there because he stayed to pay his rent and didn't want to deal with others. We had enough going on with stuff at that point to not worry about it. These phantoms are just awful.
I was going to say, I think I hear phantoms. Do we need to come up, kill them, and go sleep?
I killed them. But we will need to sleep at some point.
Should we move some beds over here?
We probably should bring beds over here. Yeah. But we went to court. It was just a matter of the judge was like, well, did you receive the eviction notice? And he's like, yep. And has it been 30 days since the eviction notice? Yep.
Wait, so
okay,
why is this in court at this point?
Because he didn't leave. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to contest it. And they have that right to contest it. And the thing is, he had no legal grounds to still be there. So the judge was like, all right, well, leave.
But isn't that what the judge had already said? You've been evicted.
We hadn't gone before. We'd given an eviction notice, and then he didn't leave by that day. And he kept ripping him down
you just gave him an eviction notice based on your rental agreement, not based on a court.
Right. No, the court had not evicted him. We had given him, a legal eviction notice, as required, and then he just failed to comply, and so we took him to court to force his compliance, basically. And the basic court was just like, well, you've been served correctly, appropriately. You don't deny it. Now leave. And that was that.
So how did said eviction go?
I mean, what do you mean? It went poorly. He was an asshole.
No. So after you got a court date, the judge says you must be evicted. What happened at that point?
He left.
He did.
The day the judge said. And basically just says if you're not gone by that day, legally, the owners can now deadbolt the door, which they will do. Any property in there, you have a certain amount of days to remove, but you're gonna have to work with the police department to get access to the building to remove it because it will be deadbolted. So
why is it even his? Why is it even his anymore?
I don't know. I guess that's just how the law works.
See, fuck that. I think anything you fucking leave in a place after you've been evicted is now turns over to the property of the owner.
I mean, but that's the thing. After a certain amount of time, it does. So there is a time period you have to get that stuff. You don't have to just keep it as the landlord. You don't have to just keep this shit forever. And he was told that too. After this amount of time, if it hasn't been retrieved, it's now their property, and they can do it as they see. So that sort of thing. And he managed to get out.
I'm getting his beds, by the way.
Okay. And that was that. I mean, I didn't have to take him to court and all to get him to leave, but I do month to month rental. I don't do a yearly lease. That way I can evict month to month. Now there's some problems there where they can leave month to month too, but the way it is around here, I don't have any trouble filling the house. So
no, understood. I mean, you're looking at my story, which is not even a rental. It is somebody illegally staying on the property. So that's not even a thing. So here's the predicament that I'm in. And the eviction was granted, and the way it works apparently in Baltimore is you have to then contact the sheriff to perform said eviction.
Now, see, that's like here, but that's like the next step. Like if they haven't left on the date that they were given, then the sheriff's department will come out there with you. And
so that's the stage, I guess, that we're in, that this person has not yet left and has been told they're supposed to leave. So it goes to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is like, and it says like you're supposed to call the sheriff's office like no earlier than like 10 days after the court date. But they might still not have the paperwork. You might have to continue calling for like 2 weeks to get the eviction scheduled based on when they get like the court date or the paperwork or whatnot. So it's like very like fucked up process. So the wife tries to call the sheriff's office to get this thing scheduled on like sometime early last week. And they said, well, first she had called like 3 or 4 different times and don't have the paperwork. We don't have the paperwork. We don't have the paperwork. Keep calling back. She finally calls. They're like, oh yeah, we got the paperwork. We scheduled the eviction for this date at this time.
Okay.
Which is tomorrow between 10 and 11 a.m.
Okay.
My wife's
not going to be able to be there?
No, she's out of town.
Yeah.
So I now have to deal with this eviction.
Okay.
That's
what you're doing tomorrow.
I've been to this house one time in my life. I've never met this person who's living there. It's in Baltimore, where I'm very not familiar at all with the area.
Yeah.
My wife lost her keys to the house. Whether the same locks are even still on the house or not, who knows? It is the day before, and I am talking to her today and saying, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do tomorrow? Like, I need to understand what it is my role is tomorrow.
I mean, your role is to show up and be present with the police department.
I said, what if he has changed the locks? She said, well,
then you have the ability to break in, really.
Well, she said, well, I don't know. I said, are we responsible for getting a locksmith if he's moved out and he's changed the locks?
Sue him. You can sue him in small claims for the cost of the locksmith.
Well, ignoring that, I'm trying to get the logistics of what the fuck I'm supposed to do tomorrow. And she
basically tomorrow you're supposed to show up with the police.
Well,
and physically remove this man.
So it gets.
You're not supposed to do anything but stand there.
It gets better than that. So she tries to call the sheriff's office to try to get the details. They won't give her the details because all they say is, it's happening tomorrow. That's all you need to know. However,
I mean, that's really true. It really is true. That's really all you need to know because you just got to be there.
Well, except for if he's not there, we don't know how we're supposed to get into the house. If the locks weren't even changed. So I finally got her to schedule a locksmith to meet me out there tomorrow.
Okay.
Because apparently the cops won't even start the eviction until the doors open.
Right.
So it's your responsibility to get the door open. Even if the person's inside and just refuses to open the door.
Yeah.
It is somehow my responsibility to get the door open.
I mean, the cocks.
The cocks.
The cocks aren't going to kick the door in.
If I knock on the door, this fucker's still there and refuses to leave. I now have to convince a locksmith to break open the lock with a guy inside.
I mean, the cops
in Baltimore.
So it's not that big of a deal.
So
right.
Well, we didn't know. I don't know if it. I see. That's the thing is, I have no idea. I'm in a very weird predicament that I don't really understand.
It's not that complicated, Jeff.
I'm
not understanding the complication. I honestly am not. Normally, I can understand.
Well,
understand,
imagine the complication prior to now a locksmith being scheduled. Because as of this morning, my responsibility on what I was told is to just go and assist the cops with an eviction.
Really, you're mostly just standing there. And yes, I mean, but I could have told you that tonight. Like I said, my first thing when you said this was call locksmith. So I could have helped you, I guess, if you. Yeah, no, your job is to just be present, and the cops will do most of the work here. But to me, it sucks for them. It's a shitty job for them. But that's really all you got to do is just be there, and then the locksmith's not going to question anything when there's a cop standing there.
Hopefully not.
He's just going to open that door for you.
Well, hopefully not. I guess the cops are scheduled anytime between 10 and 11, and locksmith's going to be out there at 10 to open the door.
Yeah, I mean, don't you have proof of ownership?
I have her information. The problem is we have proof of ownership whether that dude's in there or not. Before we go to eviction, we still have the same proof. The proof of ownership didn't change. He doesn't have a lease.
No,
he wasn't supposed to be living there.
No. But he's. I'm
not concerned with that part. I'm more concerned with.
Well, you said you were. That's why.
No, I'm more concerned with whether proof of ownership or not. Is a locksmith going to be willing to? Like, what if this guy is inside screaming and yelling, like, "Come in and I'll kill you"? Locksmith's going to be like, whatever. It's this guy's house.
Wait for the police to get there.
It up. Well, clearly we will wait for the police to get there if that's the case. But
well, there you go. This is not a big deal, Jeff. This is simple.
Okay. We will find out the aftermath of this after tomorrow.
I mean, I think you're making a bigger deal out of this than it have to be. I really do.
I mean, it's possible. I am. I've never been in this situation before, especially in a house that I don't own. I've only been to one time. And I don't know who this guy is or like what he's capable. I have no idea who this tenant is. I've never met the guy before. He's never met me before. He doesn't know like me. So I also had her text him.
To court?
I think he must have shown up to court because he lost, but there wasn't an eviction date at the time. And that's the weird thing is, so he's not getting thrown out on failure to pay rent, which requires you to send him a certified letter to tell him of the eviction date. I guess whatever means he's getting kicked out by does not require the owner to send him any type of documentation of an eviction date.
Well, he knows it because he was in court and was told, right?
Yeah, but they didn't have an eviction date at that point because that's based on the sheriff.
Right.
And so I'm a little confused at that whole thing.
He doesn't know you'll be there tomorrow.
Well, he does now because she contacted him today, me telling her, like, contact him and find out if he still have his information, see if he'll respond back to you. Find out, is he still fucking there? Because if he was told, he knows he lost. He knew he had to get out at some point.
Yeah.
Whether he was just out or not at the time. And I guess he responded back and said he still doesn't have a place to stay, so he's slowly working on getting out of there, but he doesn't know when he'll be out yet. To which she said, you know the eviction's scheduled for tomorrow at 10. And his response was, well, I won't be out by then. I was never told about this eviction.
Well, he was, though. He was told that he would be evicted.
He was definitely told about an eviction, just not a date of eviction, apparently, according to him. Though, with whatever it is that, like, whatever guise that he's getting evicted under, it is apparently the sheriff's responsibility to, serve information. So, though the sheriff's department appears to be very unhelpful, she called them like 3 times today, and they basically refused to give her any information except for saying it's happening tomorrow. And when after like she finally got a hold of him and him saying that nobody's ever told me I'm being evicted tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to be out then. She called them at like 3:55 today to say, like, is there some special circumstance for like this? They apparently refused to answer any questions because they were about to close and to call back in the morning.
Wow. I mean, to be fair, a lot of times in those cases, there's not a lot of questions they can answer. They'll probably tell you to seek legal advice.
Well, I guess the question would be, because my biggest concern and fear is I'm going to be not going to work in order to go do this and have it show up and have the sheriff be like, oh, you didn't serve him the papers you were supposed to serve him, or there's some like weird information that we didn't know.
Did you not get an attorney or anything? Did you not talk to an attorney at all?
She has not dealt with an attorney. She dealt with this all.
Okay.
I mean, it's all through the court, though. It's just not through an attorney.
Yeah, but the judge can't give you legal advice.
What? Did that really just come out of your mouth?
That's their job.
The judge.
The judge's job is not to advise you legally.
No, the judge's job is to make the judgment on said legal issue.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if there was something you were supposed to do, then it's not the judge's responsibility to tell you all the steps you need to take, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess my concern is it was also not my responsibility, like it was my wife's responsibility, and it's turned into my responsibility because she's not around for it. And
you need to be prepared to change the locks.
I do have new locks. I have 2 sets of new locks for the front and the back door. At the ready to get installed, which is basically my whole plan tomorrow was going there, hoping the house is already empty, somehow making entry now that the locksmith. And I had complained about this last week when she was, going out, and it turned out like, I'm going to be out of town. Are you going to be able to do this? And my concern was, what if I can't get in this house? And it was just like, well, I'm sure these are the keys that are going to open it up. And it turns out that they're, clearly not the keys, because the keys that she gave me are actually the keys to our current house locks.
Good.
So I know that those aren't the keys. So now that we have the
a little bit of me feels like Julia's kind of dropped the ball here on this.
Trust me, there's no question in my mind that is the case. Like, part of my frustration is that she's dropped the ball on this a lot, but but the other part of my frustration is I'm like, it's weird because I'm just scared because I don't understand. If I'm more concerned that there's something that didn't get done that's going to stop this from happening tomorrow, or I'm going to put myself somehow in harm's way because we really don't have a recourse to be somewhere that we're going to be, and I'm going to have a locksmith opening the door.
Well, you do though. You 100% do. You're the owner of the property. Eviction notice has been served. The sheriff's department is coming.
We don't know an eviction notice has been served.
Well,
we know he's been told by the judge that he is being evicted.
Yes, that's all that takes. Once that happens, really, like how it was here, the way it worked here, it sounds like it's different in Baltimore. But at any point, we could then, go to the sheriff's department and bring them out there at our discretion. At any point, it could have been that afternoon, or it could have been in a week.
Really,
and physically remove him from the property because he was officially evicted.
So I guess, well. I would say I guess that makes sense, except for officially it does say if it's eviction under failure to pay, they do have to have a 14-day advance notice of the date of eviction.
Right. Well, I think in our state it was actually 30-day. But that part had already happened before you're at the sheriff's department part.
No, they have to have a date, like 14 days beforehand. It has to be on this date you will be evicted.
See.
Which I don't understand why. I think once the judge tells you you should be evicted, it should like instantaneously be basically like you should have like a 48-hour turnaround at that point. In my mind,
technically you've been evicted the moment you receive a letter from the tenant saying you have been evicted.
I'm just telling you what the information I read says about the
right. But I guess what I'm saying is I think you're misusing the word evicted because you're talking about like a physical removal versus. Like evicted. You've been told to. Once you've been told to leave, you've been evicted. Is what I'm saying.
Hold on. I don't think you're. I will send you the information I was reading today.
Like, what's the definition of evicted?
And of course, this is not the same. I typed in the exact same thing in Google, and it does not take me to the same, website I was reading earlier today. Here it is.
So damn it, fucking stupid Google.
Fucking stupid Google.
Well, I typed in evicted, and I was going to click it with my fucking finger, and then it decided to bring up some. Oh wait, I'm sorry. It was Apple News. Apple News about some woman that was evicted. I don't want that. I just want to fucking look at the definition of evicted.
So I sent you the link in Discord. And granted, this one is about the failure to pay, which is not what this is under. So there's some steps in there we have to skip. But this is what I originally read and got really concerned. Because when you get down to step 4 is where I got really concerned and started texting Julia again this afternoon and being like, whoa, did you ever serve him this this certified letter that you have to give him? And so she said, no, like this particular type of eviction doesn't require that.
Okay, so yeah, I did look it up. Eviction is the word. So I think I was wrong in this case. Eviction is whenever you've been told you have to leave. Evicted is when you're physically removed.
Okay, I mean,
yeah, it didn't really matter.
That's just like past
this
tense.
was just a semantics
yeah,
type of thing.
That's just saying.
I felt like you were confusing the two. I guess is what I was concerned with. But anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is everything's gonna be fine.
Do you see?
They're going there tomorrow.
But did you read the thing that I can't.
Oh, that's I can't click over there.
Well, okay. What it says in step 4, and this is after step 1 is filing the failure to pay rent. Step 2 is a trial date, and this is all specifically for Baltimore. Step 3 is the warrant of restitution, which I have the paperwork for the warrant of restitution. And step 4 is a scheduling the eviction and the eviction date. And it says after you file the warrant, a waiting period of a couple of days, you can call the Baltimore Sheriff's Office to schedule eviction. The best time to call is in the morning. You may need to call several times before they have the paperwork. Once you can get the eviction scheduled, you will need to send the official notice of eviction paperwork to the resident via certified mail at least 14 days before the scheduled eviction date, as well as posting it on their front door at least 14 days before the eviction date.
See, I know here that was all done well before we went to court. Because you give notice of eviction.
This
before ever taking them to
court. Is specifically has to be done after you have the court approval for eviction.
I guess Baltimore has laws where you can't just evict it at any will. Like here, you don't need a reason to evict someone. You can evict someone just because you don't like the way they look.
Oh God, we have such renter. Granted, it's Maryland. I know Maryland does too. DC's got even crazier ones, but such tenant friendly.
Right. No, there's none of that
laws.
Shit here. If we want you out, you got to leave, and that's just it. Like the whole story. Go away. We said so. The end.
We said.
Were you told to go away? Yes. Now leave. But you're gonna be fine. It's gonna be simple.
I just hate being in these type of situations where I'm not like prepared for. It's not even like my.
Well, really, this should be Julia dealing with this. This is kind of bullshit that you're getting dealt with it, but I guess that's what you get when you get married. Sometimes you have to take care of your spouse.
Well, yeah, and it was one of those things.
I do feel like she's been unorganized in a way that's made this more difficult. Like you don't have keys to your own fucking property.
No, apparently she just lost those this week.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it for a second either. And this was the other thing that came with that, because I just found this out like 2 days ago before she left, that the keys didn't exist. And I was like, what do you mean? How did you lose the keys? Well, I lost it with my bike share key. I must have lost it when I was biking. So you know what a bike share is, where you put your...
I have no idea.
Bike shares are basically now, it's a big docking station where you can just go, pull a bike out of basically, but you have to go pull them out of this docking station. But long story short, and I said, so you lost your bike share key a week ago that happened to have your keys to this house in it. Well, yeah. So did you cancel your bike share key to make sure nobody found it and is stealing bikes that you're going to have to pay thousands of dollars for now?
Right.
Well, no, I'm not that worried about that. Okay, now I don't believe you that you lost these keys a week ago. No offense or anything. Like, I love you to death, but, I don't believe your story anymore because it's gotten a little too convenient at this point.
It's funny. I think you're going to come back. You're not going to come back on Thursday because you're going to be gone this week, but you're going to come back next time we record, and you're going to tell me how easy this all was.
Hopefully.
Piece of cake.
I mean, that's the goal. Because the other problem is I got to go sit there and change the locks. And then I got to hope to God that, like, is this guy crazy? Is he going to show up the next night and just break in the house again? Like, if this shit really isn't out of there, and until you said what you said, I was under the impression that anything he fucking leaves there is mine. Like,
no, it's definitely not.
Fuck you. If you're not out of there by then, I'm locking that door, and that shit is mine now.
No, it's definitely not yours. And I don't know what the laws are in Baltimore, so you can take a grain of salt. But in North Carolina, the laws are if he wants access to that stuff, he now needs to organize it with you and set a date and time for picking it up. And then you can, you know, if you want, call the sheriff's department, have them present when this happens. But he obviously can't break in. It's now breaking and entering. He's been removed. He has no reason to be on this property. If he's there, he's trespassing. So you could, you know, arrest him for trespassing if you were present to do so. Obviously, you're not gonna be. That's the problem with what you have here is you're not gonna know what the fuck's going on. You have to make trips there to find out if the place is even okay afterwards.
Right. And the problem is there's no internet. Because I was gonna set up some cameras up there, security cameras, but she doesn't have internet because it wasn't her place. Everybody who moves in is responsible for getting their own internet. I guess
he doesn't have internet.
So we don't know, and that's the thing is we don't really have any idea what's been going on up there since he's been in this place. And
how long has he been living there?
Dude, it's been like over a year.
See, this should have been taken care of a lot sooner than now. Really.
Well, it definitely should have. There was a big kick in the ass by me to get it started again because every time she talks to him, he would talk to her and he would just make up excuses on how he was still doing the work downstairs. And since we don't live up in that area, it's a little drive to get there. Nobody was going down there to check in on it, and it was just like nothing is getting done. And then he came clean with basically he's not really doing any work because he's now too injured or something to do the work, but he still doesn't have a place to live. So sorry, he's not leaving anytime soon. It just turned into one of those stories, and then it took months and months to get the court dates through for the official eviction and all that stuff. And
see, luckily here it was very quick. We served him his eviction notice. He had his month to leave. He fucked around, and every time we'd be like, when we would talk to him, he'd be like, well, my back and this type of shit. And so we just went and got a lawyer. It was like, well, what are we gonna have to do? I mean, that's one thing we did differently. We did go talk to a lawyer. It only cost $200, which I mean is $200, sure, but at least you have someone that can tell you for sure what to do and make sure everything does get filed the way it's supposed to and all that sort of thing. And then like I said, it was very simple. We went to court after the 30 days because he was still not out, and the judge was basically like, did they give you notice? He's like, yep. And then he tried to give all these sob stories. The judge is like, none of that matters. You were given notice. The time is up. You need to leave. And if you're not gone by the end of this week, they're going to give you the end of this week. But if you're not gone by the end of this week, the police will be there and they'll lock the door. And
that's so crazy though. Even after all that, he still has more time to get his stuff out of there. Like the judge is already like you were supposed to be out of there already. By the way, here's more time to get your stuff out.
Well, now the judge didn't. The judge asked us, can he have any more time? We're like, yeah, we'll give him a week to get his stuff out. Really, the judge could have been like, they're coming this afternoon to deadbolt the door. And we could have done that if we wanted to. But we were just nice, I guess.
I guarantee that this house is going to have a broken door on it in, a week.
Probably. I mean, how old is this guy?
I have no idea. I never met the fucking guy before. No, I don't know anything about him.
Julie has told you something about him.
Nope. I know. Well, he was supposedly a general contractor hired to. Well, he was the property manager as well, which makes it 10 times worse. But also the general contractor who's doing the work. So he's got to be physically fit enough to think he could still do work, even though part of his excuse now is that he's injured his back in some way, shape, or form, and he can't do the work anymore. So
it's like you got my guy living there.
It probably is. He probably moved from your house to ours. Moved up to Baltimore, became a property manager. And the sad thing is, he had gotten like 1 or 2 tenants beforehand over like the last couple of years who lived there for a while, and so there was no reason to distrust him originally as the property manager. How fucked up is it that your property manager is the one who fucks you over?
Yeah, it is kind of a mess. Well, hopefully it works out. I guess we'll find out in some coming episodes how things turned out.
Yep. If I never record again, I was killed in an eviction accident.
Eviction accident.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.
All right, see ya.